Hi, my name's Logan Wells. Welcome to my channel. I am a singer, songwriter, entertainer, mom, grandma, and homemaker, and also an avid gardener. I started a channel about 6 or 7 years ago when I was doing mostly cooking demonstrations and recipes, but have decided to kind of expand it to cover a wide variety of different topics. So I'm thinking that I'd like to call this the Junction. Logan's Junction. I used to call my house the Country Junction, and then my kids started calling it the Cracker Barrel house because most of my decorations in my home are very cutesy country and a lot of primitive country type of decor, farmhouse decor as well. And so they have very affectionately called it the Cracker Barrel house. But before that, I always called it the Junction, the Country Junction. The Junction is where different things meet, and I think that's a perfect name for this channel. I want to cover a whole wide variety of topics that will appeal to basically any age group, but really a lot more for the 45 plus women. I like to say from makeup to menopause, as there's a lot of things to cover in there in regards to this part of life. For empty nesters, for those who are still married, divorced, maybe you're single, we have so many different things that are challenges every day for women in this business and being moms and grandmas and so forth. So let's open up this channel for a whole wide variety of topics, and I hope that you will be a regular and hit that subscribe button and make sure that your notifications are on so that you get notified every time there's a new video. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have been in the singing business for about 25 years. I did not know that I could sing until I was 30 years old. People laugh when they say that. How do you know that you couldn't sing? Well, I mean, growing up, I was always in the school choir. I sang in the choir at my church, but I never did, solos or anything like that. And, through the years, I think you hear different people singing, and even now, you'll hear it when you listen to American Idol and people are trying out for it and they think they can sing, and it's like, wow, way off. The tone isn't there, or they're tone deaf and pitchy and just don't have it. And I used to think, well, maybe I think I sound good when I'm singing in the car or in the shower, but I was just always afraid that, maybe I've just got a voice that can blend in with the choir. And it wasn't until I was about 30, our neighborhood used to have a block party, and one of the gentlemen that lived in the cul-de-sac behind us was doing DJing, and that's when karaoke had really just kind of started. So he had set up his big, huge sound system, and we were all in the backyard there, and people were getting up and starting to do some karaoke songs. And everybody kept saying, get up there and sing, get up there and sing. And I'm like, no, I was like, no. In my mind, I thought if I just, completely bomb or something, I could just never live with myself. So it took about 2 margaritas, and then I finally was like, all right, I'll go up and sing a song. Well, at the time, I was listening to a lot of Patsy Cline, and I had never even heard of Patsy Cline until that movie Sweet Dreams came out, and I want to say that was 1988, I'm pretty sure. And I hadn't seen it when it was out at the movies. I had watched it on TV on one of the movie channels several years after it had come out. And my husband at the time and I were watching it, and I was like, oh my God, I love her voice. I love those songs. It's just like, it's everything. So he had bought me for Christmas that year Patsy Cline's Greatest Hits. And I was just listening to that at home, in the car, everything. And so I was really into that at the time of this karaoke performance. And so he said, what do you want to sing? So I picked one of Patsy Cline's tunes. I think it was She's Got You. And went behind one of the big speakers, so in case it really was sounding awful, that I could just kind of like set the microphone down and run. But so I started singing, and I noticed that everybody got really, really quiet, and they were all like, is somebody singing that, or is he playing the record? And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I can sing. So, I got a little more courage and went up a little while later, and I picked a Stevie Nicks tune and did that one. They're like, oh my God, you sound just like her. And then I thought, well, I love Karen Carpenter, so I did a Karen Carpenter tune, and they said, you sound just like her, and kind of discovered that I had a knack for imitating other voices. But I really hadn't found my own voice at that point. So at that time, it was just a matter of, okay, I think I can sing a little bit. So shortly thereafter, we went out to dinner, the girls from the neighborhood, and it was at a little place in Brunswick, Ohio, and they happened to have a karaoke contest that night. So the girls were like, you need to go up there, you sing really good, you could win it. And I was like, no, I can't, I just can't do that. They finally talked me into it, and I literally, when I was singing, my hand was like shaking the whole time with the mic. I was just really, really nervous. And again, I sang a Patsy Cline song, and then you had to sing a second one, and both of them were Patsy tunes. I think it was Walking After Midnight and Crazy, and I won. It was a $100 prize, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. I got $100. Then shortly thereafter, we kept going to all these different karaoke contests, and I think I entered 15 contests that first year, and I won every single one of them. I won gift certificates for restaurants. I won a trip to Florida. I won a trip, where else did we go? I won a trip to Vegas, and the biggest thing was the Ohio Karaoke Championship, and I forget, I want to say it was in Mansfield, and I went down, and I thought, oh my gosh, I was listening to these people singing this in this contest, and I just thought, there's no way I'm even going to get close to this. And they narrowed it down to like 10 people, and I was in that, and then they narrowed it down to 5, and I was in that, and again, all I sang was Patsy Cline tunes, and I won. It was $2,500. I couldn't believe it. So that was like a huge incentive for me to keep doing this because, I won a lot of really great things and made some money at it. Now, I never thought that I was going to turn this into a professional thing. When I was in high school and I graduated in 1981, that was still at a time in America that you could still, as a woman, think, I might just get married and be a stay-at-home mom. And if I find a husband that makes, decent money, middle class, we could have a nice little house in the suburbs. And that's all I really thought I would do. I had no aim of going to college. There was nothing that I wanted to be or do with my life that I thought required a college education. And I basically took some typing and high-skilled stenography. And I thought, I'll get a job after I get out of high school as a secretary, maybe work my way up to like an office manager or something. And then when I get married and start having kids, I'll be a stay-at-home mom. So I graduated with my degree, my high school degree, and again, specialized in high-skilled stenography. And that's when things were really starting to take a change in the early 80s, where more women were going out to work. The economy was changing, and it really started to require that both people in a marriage needed to have jobs in order to even just attain middle class status. So I immediately got a job right after I graduated, and it was in a construction kind of company. And I worked in the billing department. I would sit behind a computer all day, typing in invoices. And it's so crazy because the computer I had was some kind of IBM machine that, as you were typing things in, these tickets would come out of the machine with these holes in it. And at the end of the day, you'd roll up this thing and tape it and write the date on it, and it would be put into a vault somewhere. I just think how archaic that sounds now. It's crazy. Shortly after that, I think I worked there a couple years and decided with a friend that I had met working out at the local high school. We were jogging, and we decided that we both wanted to travel. And so her and I went on a cruise together, and we enjoyed the companionship and traveled so well together that we decided to both quit our jobs and go to Europe for a month. So I had saved up enough money that I did 10 countries in 30 days. And then immediately when I got back, I got another job working at an advertising agency. And I was just the receptionist when I started there, and then I worked my way up to office manager, and then started taking an interest in advertising itself, and became a media director at one point. And I loved that job. That was such a cool job. I got to go see so many shows and go to so many parties, and got taken to lunches and dinners and everything by ad executives that wanted me to give them their business. It was really a cool job, and I was loving that. And I was making really good money for a 20-year-old at that point. And then I got married, and shortly thereafter, my first daughter came into the picture. We had wanted to wait about 5 years to start a family, but oops, Brianna came along, and it was a pleasant oops. I knew I wanted kids at some point, so I was excited. And problem was, I was so sick with morning sickness every day, all day long, all night long. It never stopped. That it only lasts the first 3 months is baloney. I had it until I delivered her. So I had to figure out what I was going to do because I was feeling so sick. And the Lord works in mysterious ways because of the economy at that time in 1980. That would have been, let me think, that would have been the beginning of 1987. I got laid off. So it was a blessing because I was able to get some unemployment while I was at home puking my guts out. So after that, decided to be a stay-at-home mom for a couple years, and was doing just some various side jobs. I had a friend whose mother worked for Cotton Club, and she hired me quite a bit to do demonstrations at colleges and grocery stores and things like that. So I got some experience with being in front of the public and selling things. And then I also did some of those in-store food demonstrations for several years from some of the different grocery store chains. And that was just a way to make some extra money to be able to, you know, supply a little bit more income to what my husband was making. And then I was a crafter. Then I was a home crafter. I found that I liked making crafts. I'd always been, you know, crafty growing up, and enjoyed working on crocheting and embroidery and painting and things like that. So we were going to craft shows, and I thought, you know, I could do something like this. So I started figuring out some different things that I could make, and I did craft shows for, 2 or 3 years. One of the things I made were these potpourri pies. I got to show you this. Okay, so if you happen to own one of these pies that were made by Logan Wells, you've got a collector's item. I think I did this for almost 2 years, and they were just pie tins that we filled with potpourri, and we made different scented ones. We have apples, which we had the dried apples on here. We had cherry and raspberry and blueberry and so forth. And then this is felt, and you would put the potpourri inside the tin, cover it with netting, and then make the crisscross out of these felt strips, and then braid the crust. And then I would dry some apples and a cinnamon stick, or, you know, whatever was with the flavor, some dried blueberries or cranberries, whatever on the top. And we just thought these were cool because there was a lot of ceramic ones that were out at the time. But if you have kids and they fall, they break, these you could drop, you could do all kinds of things too, and they wouldn't break. And they smelled really, really nice. So I called them sensational pies, and did this for a couple years, and really was doing pretty good in the craft business. But when this whole thing happened with the singing and winning all these contests, people started saying, you really should be doing something professionally with this. And so I kind of prayed on it because I wasn't sure, you know, I don't know anything about the music business, and just was hesitant to drop what I was doing with the crafts to go into singing, but the singing was a lot more fun. And so I prayed on it, and this is what happened next. So we moved into this neighborhood and had joined one of the local churches, and we're going there regularly, and we attended a Bible study every week with some of the new members. And long story short, they were just at the process of building this huge activity center onto the church property, and they were looking for different ways to raise money for it. And our Bible study said, why don't we do like a spaghetti dinner, or blah blah blah, to raise some money. And I was like, that's just so everybody does a spaghetti dinner, and it's just kind of old. And let's do something different. What can we do different? And a couple people said, well, you sing, why don't you put on a show? And I'm like, I sing karaoke. Like, I go to a place, the person there has the karaoke equipment, it's all set up, I just go up, pick up the microphone, and I sing. I don't have anything to do that. And I go, that would be really cool. And so I prayed on it, and literally this idea came to me pretty quickly about that I was winning all these contests singing Patsy Cline tunes, and I knew just how much everybody loved Patsy Cline. And so I thought, what if I write a tribute show? So went to the library, got some different books. At that time, computers were just starting to become, where people were putting them in their homes. So I was looking some things up online, and put together a show that told the story from her birth in Winchester, Virginia, all the way to her very untimely death due to a plane crash in Tennessee. And in between the narratives, I would be singing the songs. Now, the difference with my show is I don't try to look like her or dress like her. It's just me singing a tribute to her, and people say I sound an awfully lot like her, which is a great compliment, and I enjoy that. So, okay, so I wrote the show in probably 2 days and had all these different ideas of things to do within the show. My husband at the time said he would do the narration, I would do the singing, and then it was, okay, now what? How do I get the music? How do I get sound equipment? How do I produce the show? So again, prayed about it, and literally I was in my kitchen praying about it, and the phone rings, and it's one of my husband's friends who was in the mower business. And he was calling to talk to my husband, but he wasn't there. And I said, he's not here right now. He said, oh, what's going on with you? And I'm like, well, and I don't know what even led me to tell him what I was even praying about or whatever, but it was God. Started telling him about this whole thing that I was trying to write and so forth, and didn't know what I was going to do as far as, music and so forth. And this guy says, oh, I used to be in a band when I was a teenager and, early 20s, and I still have all that equipment and stuff in my basement, and I would love to do that. I think it would be fun. Let me do that for you. I'm like, wow, wish God answered all my prayers that quickly. But he works in mysterious ways. He wanted that building built over there. So we got together and we figured it out. And at that time, it was a slideshow. I actually had gotten some pictures of Patsy Cline at various times in her career, and we went and had slides made. And then another fan of mine had offered to run the slideshow for me. So it was a very bare bones version of the tribute show as I do it now, but it worked, and we sold 600 tickets in 3 days. It was crazy. So I thought, well, I think we got something here, and decided to take it to the next level. And in my next video, I will share the rest of the story with you. So come on back soon.